Kareem, you mind if we take it off of the subject of purely sports just for a second? I used to love when you would come on Max and Marcellus on the radio out in L.A. and we could talk social issues and these sorts of things as an athlete intellectual, because there aren't that many of you, right? How do you feel about the following subject? Because we deal with this a lot. These are unusual times in our country and in the world, and but particularly in our politics. And we are sometimes criticized because we will deal with those issues head on as they overlap with sports and as they are even just kind of tangentially related to sports. And there are some who would say, and I'm sympathetic to their argument, I watch sports TV to escape the real world. Stop bringing me back into it, and it's divisive in some way. But I also feel that how can you ignore the kind of larger context of the world in which sports exists? Where do you come down on that subject?
Well, I think sports are a pleasant distraction, but certainly reality reaches into all aspects of life, and sports is part of that also. So you can't entirely separate it. You have to be reasonable and deal with it when it's appropriate.
Kareem, with the money that these players are making in this day and age, combined with the cachet that they wield, what level of responsibility do you think they have in today's world to be socially conscious, particularly compared to what times were like, obviously, while you were playing and to some degree even after you were playing? What level of responsibility do you think they have on their shoulders compared to players of the past?
Gee, Stephen, I think it's up to the individual. Some guys are aware and they understand what they're talking about, and they should talk. You know, that is an opportunity for them to get some common sense out that they feel is important. So they don't have to squander their opportunity. But if they don't know what they're talking about and they're jerks, we want to keep those guys quiet, right? So, you know, it's just common sense, I think. You know, certain people need to be talking about things, and other people we can forget about them because they don't have anything meaningful to say.
One of the reasons that there's so much attention on these finals, it's a trilogy between two great teams. Whose era is it kind of thing? I love it. You know, it's like Ali, Frazier, and they're fighting in the Thrilla and Manila.
Yeah.
Yes. And one of the reasons is everyone's interested in LeBron James's place in history. And can he challenge Michael Jordan? But whenever that conversation comes up, there's always someone in the room, usually an old-timer, goes, wait a minute, what about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Where do you think LeBron James ends in history? Does he have a chance to be the greatest player of all time, greater than you or greater than MJ?
Certainly. But I think what you're talking about is a matter of style and not effect. If we want to talk about the greatest player in the NBA, I would start with Bill Russell. 8 world championships in a row, 11 world championships in 13-year career. That's pretty good.
That's the other name.
LeBron won't get close to that, okay? So what criteria are you going to use? That's really, I think, what this is all based on.
But he'll be in the conversation with you and Bill Russell and Michael Jordan, you believe, when it's all over?
I think so. Look at how he plays. He can play 4 positions. If he was 2 or 3 inches taller, he could play the pivot too. He'd play anywhere he wants.
Because I'm making a distinction between you 4 guys and everyone else, including Wilt Chamberlain and Shaq and Kobe and everyone. I'm saying that's the Mount Rushmore. Is he going to be on the Mount Rushmore?
We won't know until his career is over, but from what we've seen so far, he's got a good shot at it.
Right. Kareem, let me transition to your book. I want you to tell us about this book, and I want you to tell us why you were inspired to write it at this particular moment in time. Talk to me about that, please.
I wanted to write the book because people don't really get Coach Wooden in the whole. All right, yeah, he was an incredible coach, but what he taught us about life and how to be good people, people miss out on that. They don't get that because it has nothing to do with why they pay attention to him, because they pay attention to the wins. But for those of us who played, I know in my own life, I found myself doing things with my kids like Coach Wooden did with us in practice. And you know, all of a sudden I realized the effect that he had on me. So it took me a little while to figure all this out and get it down. And when I did, I decided I was going to share it with everybody.
As the greatest scorer in NBA history, as somebody that Isaiah Thomas, I mean, more so than anybody that I know, I don't care if it's Jordan or anybody else, Isaiah Thomas brings up your name at every turn about how you should be considered probably the greatest. I wonder, as you sit back as a player with the credentials to gauge and to judge what a coach delivers, particularly since you played for Coach Wooden, what are your thoughts about how Phil Jackson is perceived, how Greg Popovich is perceived, a 6-time champion, a 5-time champion, what we say about them in terms of their level of greatness? How do you view them from the prism of being an individual who was coached by Coach Wooden and ultimately had the success that you had, including playing for Pat Riley?
Well, you know, I think that those coaches that you just mentioned, Popovich and Phil, they've earned their place in the coaching ranks of great coaches. But they didn't coach college ball. It's a different, totally different ambiance in college ball. So you're talking about somebody who's dealing with professionals who have a different duty and a different objective in front of them, as opposed to young people going to school. It's two different. It's two different circumstances. I don't think you could compare them. Coach Wooden wouldn't be able to do what he did today because kids going to school today are either going to get attention to go to the NBA or they're going to get an education. They're not doing both. And I think that's the big change in the circumstances today.
Gotcha.
Unfortunate change. Kareem, thank you so much for being with us. Appreciate you. And we can pick
Thank
up your
you.
new book, Coach Wooden and
Coach
Me.
Wooden and me, our 50-year relationship. It was incredible doing the book to just go back and think about all those things.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
Take a walk down memory lane.
Yeah, it was. I went smiles and laughter and tears. Absolutely.
Looking forward to reading it.